Hello everyone, welcome again in today's my class. In this video, we will proceed our history chapter 2, that is nationalism in India, with next topic. So today's topic is the Salt March and the civil disobedience movement. Okay, so let's start this video with this topic. So salt was a common entity used by everyone. Britishers' monopoly over its production and salt tax was a key point that Gandhiji utilized to spread his Swaraj message. On January 31st, 1930, Mahatma Gandhi wrote a letter to Viceroy Irwin. Were 11 demands. The demands were from various sections of the society. He made sure the demands were wide enough to include as many people as possible. From the various demands, one was to abolish tax law. Gandhiji started in the letter that if his demands were not fulfilled by March 11, he would launch a civil disobedience movement. So, in this slide message is the first thing which Gandhiji thought was to unite people. This could only be done if the problems of all the classes of society to be taken into consideration. So, with this view, Gandhiji sent a letter to Viceroy Irwin on 31st January 1930, stating the 11 demands. Okay, so some of these were of general interest, other were specific demands of different classes from industrialists to peasants. The main reason behind including demands of these groups was to bring everyone together in a united campaign. The most important demand among all was the abolition of salt tax. Gandhiji gave a view that salt, being an essential food item, is consumed by all, whether they are rich or poor. So, the tax on salt and the government's monopoly over its production seemed unjust to him. Mahatma Gandhi declared this law as the most oppressive phase of the British rule. Mahatma Gandhi had given an ultimatum in his letter that if the demands would not be fulfilled by 11th March, the Congress will launch a civil disobedience movement. So, the Salt March, about in this slide we discuss about the Salt March. So Gandhiji started the Salt March from his ashram in Sabarmati to the coastal town of Dandi. 78 volunteers accompanied him. The distance was about 240 miles. Gandhiji and his volunteers walked for 24 days, covering 10 miles a day to reach their destination. Many people came over and joined Gandhiji during his march. They listened to what he had to say about Swaraj and how they need to carry out the fight for independence peacefully. On 6th April, on April 6, Gandhiji violated the salt law, manufacturing the salt by boiling the seawater. Okay, so we know about Mahatma Gandhi had given an ultimatum in his letter that if the demands would not be fulfilled by 11th March, the Congress will launch a civil disobedience movement. Lord Irwin did not consider it, and this led to the beginning of non-cooperation movement, which was started with the famous Salt March led by Mahatma Gandhi. So, on 12th March, Gandhiji started his famous Salt March accompanied by 78 of his trusted volunteers. Gandhiji covered 240 miles in 24 days from his ashram Sabarmati to the Gujarati coastal town of Dandi. Thousands came to hear Gandhiji, wherever he stopped, he explained to them about his idea of Swaraj and urged them to carry the movement peacefully to defy the British. On 6th April, Gandhiji reached Dandi and he broke the salt law by boiling seawater. The Dandi March was seen as the beginning of the civil disobedience movement, but here the question arises as to how it differed from the non-cooperation movement. So, see the civil disobedience movement. The civil disobedience started at the end of Salt March, along with non-cooperation with the British people. With the British people were also asked to break the colonial laws. People broke the salt law in many parts of India, protested outside the salt factories, refused to pay revenue and chowkidar taxes resigned from their posts. Foreign goods were boycotted, and liquor shops were picketed. People entered restricted areas in forests to collect woods and graze cattle. So the civil disobedience movement different in a way that in this case people not only refused to cooperate with the British government but were also asked to break the British laws. So this led to the following action by the various groups in India. So thousands of people broke the salt law at various coastal areas. They manufactured salt and demonstrated in front of the government factories. Foreign cloth was totally boycotted. Liquor shops were picketed. Peasants start evading taxes. They stop paying revenue and chowkidari taxes. Village officials resigned. Forest laws were violated by entering into reserved areas to collect the wood and graze cattle. The development made under non-cooperation movement terrified the British government. In order to control such activities, the government started arresting Congress leaders one by one. This resulted into ferocious clashes between the people and police. Abdul Ghaffar Khan, a devout disciple of Mahatma Gandhi, was arrested by the police in April 1930. This led to demonstration by the angry crowds in Peshawar. Police fired on the demonstrators and killed many of them. Later on, Mahatma Gandhi was arrested. This led to a violent demonstration by the industrial workers in Solapur. They Industrial workers in Solapur, they attacked the police station, municipal buildings, law courts and railway stations. So, seeing this uprising, government officials began to take arrest Congress leaders. When Abdul Ghaffar Khan was arrested, Peshawar protested against police firing, where many got killed. When Mahatma Gandhi got arrested, police posts, municipal buildings, and railway stations got attacked. Not being able to control the people, the government adopted more aggressive measures. Seeing violence spreading, Mahatma Gandhi called off the movement by entering into the Irwin Pact on 5th March 1931. According to the pact, Gandhiji agreed to attend the Round Table Conference in London, but after attending the conference, he was disappointed with the negotiation made. On returning to India, he found that the government had announced Congress illegal. Prominent leaders were in jail. Meeting and gathering were prohibited. Gandhiji again launched the civil disobedience movement, which continued for over a year but then lost its momentum by 1934. So, mm, they means Uh, when police fired on the demonstrators and killed many of them. Later on, Mahatma Gandhi was arrested. This led to a violent demonstration by the industrial workers in Solapur. They industrial workers they attacked the police stations, municipal buildings, law courts, and railway station. Here we can say that they tried to attack every symbol of British rule. Us government got terrified, terrified with such incidents. It became brutal with the peaceful satyagrahis. The government started attacking even the women and children. About 1 lakh people were arrested. As the situation was growing worse, so Gandhiji decided to call off the movement. On 5th March 1931, he entered into a pact with Irvin, which later came to be known as Gandhi-Irvin Pact. Due to this pact, Gandhiji agreed to participate in the Round Table Conference. The first Round Table Conference was boycotted by the congresses in London, and the government uh, cons- uh, cons- constantly to realize the political prisoners. In December 1931, Gandhiji went to London to attend the Round Table Conference, but the conference failed and Gandhiji returned back with disappointment. When he reached India, he found that the government had initiated a new form of repression. Leaders like Ghaffar Khan and Jawaharlal Nehru were both in jail. Congresses was declared illegal and various new measures were imposed by the government to prevent meetings, demonstrations and boycotts. Gandhiji again launched the civil disobedience movement. It did continue for about a year, but it soon lost its strength. What were the reasons behind the decline of this movement, and what was the perception of the participants of civil disobedience movement? Let's discuss this. So, how participants saw the movement? So, first, rich peasants community. So, for the rich peasants, Swaraj meant a fight against the increased revenue rates. The economic depression caused the decline of the sale of crops, which caused the peasants very hardships as they produced commercial crops. But the decline in trade was not accompanied by a reduction in revenue prices. This caused uh, agreed towards the government as they refused to reduce the revenue demand. When Mahatma Gandhi launched the movement, the rich peasant community actively participated in the fight. They even forced recluant people to participate in the movement. But when the movement was called off, they were highly disappointed as the revenue demand did not decrease. So, when the movement was relaunched, the rich peasants refused to participate. So, how participants saw the movement? So, to understand the reason that led people to participate in the movement, we first need to know the different social groups that participated. So, first group is uh, rich peasant community. Let's discuss the case of rich peasant community of rural areas. So the patidars of Gujarat and the Jats of Uttar Pradesh had actively participated in the movement. They were the producers of cash crops, hence were not much affected by the fall in prices of the agricultural products as their cash income disappeared. They found it difficult to pay the government tax. So For them, participating in civil disobedience movement was equal to the reduction in the government revenue. They started sorry, orga, organizing their communities for civil disobedience movement. Even those who were reluctant were also forced to participate. But when the movement was called off in 1931 without reduction in revenue, they felt really disappointed. Hence, they refused to participate in 1932 when the movement was started again. So next, poor peasant community. Poor peasants wanted to reduction in revenue demands and remittance of rents that were unpaid for their landlords, and rich peasants afraid to disappoint the rich peasants who financially supported the Congress party. The poor peasant demands were not voiced. So, on the other hand, the poor peasants who had small land holdings and were generally tainted were badly hit by the fall in the price of food grains. They demanded for the cancellation of the revenue or the rent they had to pay. For this, they organized for various radical movements under some socialists or communists. These peasants were never able to get support by the Congress as the party was unwilling to support no rent campaigns, as this might upset the rich peasants and landlords. Next, business class community. Businesses class people wanted to expand their businesses in India and abroad, but the company's control over import duties and trade restrictions become a barrier to their growth. To oppose the colonial policies, the industrialists formed the Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress in 1920 and the Federation of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries, short name is FICCI, in 1927. So, if we talk about the business classes and their relation with the civil disobedience movement, then for this we need to know about the condition of the businesses houses at that time. Okay, so during the First World War, the Indian businessmen and industrialists earned huge profit and became more powerful. How this happened will be discussed later in chapter 5, as they wanted to expand their businesses. They started reacting against the British policies that were against the expansion of businesses. They had their own issues such as protection of businesses from outside competition. For this, they demanded for protection against the imported goods. They also demanded for rupee uh, settling foreign exchange ratio that would discourage imports. The industrialists, in order to demand for their right, formed up Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress in 1920 and the Federation of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries in 1927, and short name is FICCI. So, Indian industrialists, under the leadership of some important industrialists like uh, Purushottam Das Thakur Das and G.D. Birla attacked the British control over the Indian economy and supported the civil disobedience movement when it was launched for the first time. So, the business class community saw the civil disobedience movement as the turning point where its trade monopoly would be removed. They will have a better chance to expanding their work. When the movement was launched, to the community actively participated by providing financial assistance to the Congress party. They boycotted buy or sell or imported goods. Prominent leaders of the industrialists were Purushottam Das Thakur Das and G.D. Birla. When the movement was called off, they became afraid of the military activities, feared that the trade restrictions might increase and their business might suffer heavy losses. Okay, so Indian industrialists under the leadership of some important industrialists like Purushottam Das, Thakur Das and G.D. Birla attacked the British control over the Indian economy and supported the civil disobedience movement when it was launched for the first time. They not only participated in it by refusing to buy or sell imported goods but also financially supported it. For most of them, Swaraj meant us a time when the British restriction on businesses will be removed and the Indian trade and industry would flourish. But when it was revealed revealed that the Round Table Conference failed, the businesses groups no longer felt excited about the civil disobedience movement. They were worried about the spread of any militant activities that could disrupt the businesses and also were also not in favor of the growing socialism among the young Congress members. So now we know about the participation of industrialists and how they step back to participate in the movement. But what about industry workers? So working class industrial working class people did not join in large numbers except in the Nagpur region. The Congress party did not include their demands like low wages and proper working conditions as they were afraid that it might upset the industrialists who supported them financially. But the workers joined the movement for the ideals they felt good, like the boycott of foreign goods. So, while the industrial workers did not participate in this movement, only it was in Nagpur where the participation was seen among the workers. They followed the Gandhian program of boycotting foreign goods as part of their own movements against low wages and inadequate working environment. So, for them, their struggle was for adequate wages and good working environment. So, there were strikes by railway workers in 1930 and deck workers in 1932. In 1930, thousands of workers in Chota Nagpur tin mines participated in rallies by wearing Gandhi caps, but in this case, the Congress was not interested in including the demands of workers. It did so in order to keep industrialists with them so that the force against the British rule may not lose its strength. Next, women. So women participated in the movement as they thought it to be their sacred duty towards the nation. During the Salt March, many women came out of their homes to listen to Gandhiji. The large participation of women was mainly from rich peasants and high caste families. They boycotted foreign goods, participated in protests, and picketed liquor shops. Women's participation was not a welcome sight by the Congress party as they thought women were designed to look over household uh, chores and family. The women were not offered position in the party despite their efforts. So, last but not the least was the participation by women in the civil disobedience movement. Women had participated at a very large scale. During Gandhiji's Salt March, thousands of women went to listen to him. They participated in protest marches, manufactured salt, and picketed the liquor shops and foreign cloth shops. Many of them even went to jail. These women were either from high caste families in urban areas or from rich peasants' households of rural areas. Inspired by Gandhiji, all the women took it as their sacred duty to participate in the national movement. Though this participation did not bring any change in their social status, even the Congress was also recluent in including women in their organization. So now we know about the participation of the different groups in the civil disobedience movement and also the reason behind their reluctance to keep continuing with it. So now let's check the limits of civil disobedience movement in my next video. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.